It's been a while, hasn't it? Hero They Call Me Here used to do a thing called Heroes Wrestling way back when with a couple other chumps. But thanks to Callum Sleen Bayonets, we are back making more Heroes Wrestling. And I should say I am back making more Heroes Wrestling for you lovely folks. So I hope you enjoyed. Today we're going to be looking at a pay-per-view that Callum wanted me to watch, which is SummerSlam 2007. I don't remember anything about this pay-per-view, so I'm going in totally blind. Didn't look up the rosters, didn't look up the card, didn't look up anything. So before we get into it, I just want to break down a couple things that are going to be different. When we used to do our Heroes Wrestling podcast, which isn't really a podcast, it was a review show, we would, break down the match, talk about it, and I'd have my dry bread go off and say a bunch of stuff for about 20 minutes, and it was terrible. It was awful, and we stopped making it. But for this, it's just going to be me watching these pay-per-views by myself. I'm going to throw some editing in, going to have hopefully some clips in there if WWE is kind enough to let me have them. And I'm just going to break down pay-per-views for you, give them my honest opinions and some grades, and that's how we're going to do these things. So anyways, without further ado, SummerSlam 2007, let's get into it.
WWE SummerSlam tonight. It's the biggest party of the summer.
So we kick off SummerSlam 2007. It's a 3-brand pay-per-view. I completely forgot ECW was a thing. 3 commentary team as well. So we have JBL and Michael Cole for Team SmackDown. We have Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross for Raw. And of course, we have the best commentary team, Joey Styles and Taz for ECW. On this SummerSlam, we have 2 returning superstars in Rey Mysterio, who's in a feud with Chavo Guerrero, and Triple H, who's in a feud with King Booker, of all people. The first match of the night, we have Kane, who is a face, facing off against Finlay, who is a heel, obviously. And this might be one of the best feuds ever started. You want to know how this feud started? Spilled coffee. That is how this feud started. Hasn't this happened a couple times with different superstars on different shows? I'm not entirely sure, but why would spilled coffee start a feud? Who would have thought that's a great idea? Let's have someone spill coffee on somebody and we'll start a feud that way. Stupid. Kane has some injured ribs because he had a shillelagh attack from Finlay a few weeks back. Honestly, in my eyes, this seems like a really weird opener to have Kane versus Finlay, but we'll see how it goes. Kane hits a really cool one-hand scoop slam early on in the match. And then we go straight to the corner as we stay in this corner for about, 15 minutes. It wasn't really that long, but it felt like that. Finlay decides to go to the top rope, which is never a good idea for Finlay because he's not a flyer. He loves to fight after all. He eats an uppercut, flies to the outside of the ring. Kane decides it's his time to go to the top rope, but he eats the turnbuckle directly into his ribcage. And Finlay starts to work the ribs, which is pretty obvious because Kane has this whole tape job around his ribs. Like, why even show up with that? You know you're just going to get your ribs beat up. Wild Hornswoggle appears, and we get a hope spot of Kane chokeslamming Hornswoggle. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Finlay helps Hornswoggle get away. Kane goes for the chokeslam on Finlay, but he can't get him up because his ribs are just too hurt. Finlay exposes the turnbuckle, but it's all a ruse to get the ref's attention, so he grabbed the shillelagh and tried to hit Kane in the ribs with it. Kane sees it coming, though, hits him with the big boots. Kane tries to use it, but the ref stops him, which allows Finlay to get the advantage and hit Kane with the shillelagh, but only for a 2. Finlay keeps trying to work the ribs in the corner with some shoulder thrusts. Kane able to get out of the way. Chokeslam, 1, 2, 3, and that's the end of the first match. Pretty basic opening match, not much to it. Wasn't, great, wasn't terrible by any means. I do like Kane. I really like Finlay, but I wasn't expecting much from this match, and we didn't get much, but it was a decent opener. The crowd seemed to be semi into it. This is where I'm going to throw in our ratings. So the ratings are going to be 1 through 5 stars. It's pretty basic, self-explanatory, but I might be a bit more harsh than most people with their ratings. 1 is just going to be like pure crap. You don't need to watch it. 2 is okay. It's a decent match. 3 is good. There is a difference between good and okay, people. 4 is going to be very good. And then 5 is like the cream of the crop. The excellent matches that has everything like storytelling, great match quality, very entertaining, so on and so forth. 4 will be more so, just a bit under that. 3 is like, your run-of-the-mill like good match. And then 2 is just an okay match. It's passable. There's nothing really bad about it, but nothing great. And then 1 is terrible. So all that said, this match is a 2-star in my opinion, because it's a match. It's something you'll forget right after you watch it, pretty much. We have our first backstage segment, which has Jonathan Coachman, William Regal, Teddy Long, Armando Alejandro Estrada, who I forgot was a thing, and of course Vince McMahon. And it's a giant sausage party, as Vince McMahon says. He's like, where are all the girls? They're trying to have some sort of SummerSlam party backstage, and they're also trying to find Vince McMahon's bastard son's mom, which I completely forgot was a storyline for the longest time because they absolutely ruined it by just giving it to Hornswoggle, if you all remember. It was supposed to be Mr. Kennedy, but he ended up being an idiot and doing drugs, I believe. Anywho, Santino shows up and says that he is Vince's son because Vince is actually short for Vincenzo, and that is Italian, and he's Italian. Makes a lot of sense to me. Issue Santino away. MVP comes in. He's like, I'm not interested in being your son, but I want to issue an open challenge to Matt Hardy. Not a wrestling match, because Teddy Long doesn't want us to wrestle for some reason. Didn't put your most valuable player on SummerSlam, but I'd like to issue a challenge. Of course, this is around the time where Matt Hardy and MVP were having those little challenges, basketball, boxing, whatever that they were doing. And then I believe they won the tag titles shortly after this, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, Vince McMahon agrees, and we're going to have some sort of challenge later on tonight. Regal says, who knows, maybe I am Vince McMahon's son. Vince goes on to say he would never bang an English woman, even if he had Coach's dick. It's an interesting little backstage segment, to say the least.
I couldn't do an English woman with your...
We move on to our second match, which is for the IC Championship. It is Mr. Kennedy versus Carlito versus Umaga. Umaga is the champion at this time, and I have no idea who is the heel and who's the face in this match besides Umaga being heel. I think Mr. Kennedy's also heel, and I'm pretty sure Carlito's supposed to be a face, but who the hell knows? Couldn't tell because no one is really into anybody. There is pretty much crickets when all three people come out, except for Mr. Kennedy's Kennedy! Bullshit that he does. Early on in the match, Kennedy is trying to negotiate with Umaga, saying we should team up and beat up Carlito, which makes no sense to me. Why would Umaga need to team up with anybody? Should be the other way around. But he ends up slapping Umaga on the chest to get his attention, and that's a bad idea to do Umaga. Umaga with the big-ass uppercut takes out Kennedy, then clears house for pretty much the entire match. Until Mr. Kennedy makes Umaga take a bump to the outside, puts him against the steps, and boots him right in the shoulder, trying to take him out for the foreseeable future. As Kennedy gets back into the ring after that, Carlito uses the tights in a roll-up and almost gets the 3 count right away. I thought the match was actually going to end there, and I was like, oh, that was a quick match, but fortunately for us, it keeps going. Carlito hits a nice springboard elbow onto Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy hits the stroke. He wouldn't be able to use that move in a few more years when he ends up in TNA. Umaga back into the match now, hits a nice second rope headbutt onto Carlito. Umaga trying to end the match with a corner splash on Carlito, but Mr. Kennedy able to move Carlito out of the way, which makes Umaga take a nice spill into the turnbuckle. Kennedy then follows it up with taking apart the table, getting the monitor, and smacking Umaga directly in the dome. Carlito tries to go for the quick cover after that, but Umaga able to kick out. Both men start to team together now. They realize Umaga is too much of a man for them, so they start to team on Umaga, beating him down. They try to go for a double suplex, but Umaga is too strong, hits the double suplex on them. Umaga hits a beautiful swing out Uranagi, hits Carlito in the corner with the running hip attack. But as he's going to finish the match, Mr. Kennedy out of nowhere dumps Umaga out of the ring, picks up Carlito, hits the Green Bay plunge. Looks like he's got this match won. Umaga comes out of nowhere with the spike. 1, 2, 3, pins Mr. Kennedy, retains his IC championship. So this match had a bit more tempo in it than the last one, but still not really something to be remembered by anyways. Definitely not one of Umaga's best matches, that's for sure. He had some really good matches against Jeff Hardy later on in his career. But this one, I'd probably have to give another 2 stars. It's just, it's okay. There's nothing terrible about it. There's a couple of cool spots, but it didn't really do anything for me. So not good enough to be a 3, but not the worst. So 2 is fine. Up next, we got Chavo Guerrero, who obviously is the heel, versus Rey Mysterio, coming back from his knee surgery that he suffered at the hands of Chavo in their I Quit match about 6 months ago, as we learned from the vignette that was showing before the match. We also learned that Chavo went on a nice little knee rampage, taking care of, I believe, Shannon Moore and a few other wrestlers by taking out their knee and mocking Rey Mysterio, telling him that he's like no good and that he's better than him. Typical heel stuff. So I honestly, I don't remember this match, but I remember like this entrance because this is the first time Rey Mysterio used POD, I believe. I think he got rid of his old theme song, which is superior in every way, in my opinion. I also remember it because Rey Mysterio is coming back as, I believe, the Silver Surfer. I think that's what he was going for in this match. And he's also coming back really, really thick, as you can see in this picture here. He's a big boy. He's got a big belly on him. I always thought it was interesting. I guess, taking time off, you can't really do anything cardio-wise when your leg is broken, pretty much, so it makes sense. We get a Chavo sucks chant early on in the match. It's also very odd because, like I said, the last match they had was an I Quit match, right? So he had him in the trio woe, bashed his knee with the steel chair, and this match starts with them locking up and doing cruiserweight moves. Like, I didn't mind the beginning. They kind of go head to head and they look at each other, the ref kind of breaks them up, but then the bell rings and, they feel each other out. They do some cruiserweight stuff, and I was like, I'm already not really invested now because of that. Usually when you're coming back from, an injury suffered at the hands of the feud that you're in. You're coming back and you're, fighting right away. The face usually gets, a couple things in, and then the heel will, kick the leg out and work the leg, which is kind of how this match goes. But besides the beginning where they just started, doing cruiserweight moves and locking up, which I thought was just odd. So after all that cruiserweight stuff, like I said, Chavo starts to work the knee. Still out of nowhere, Rey Mysterio hits a flip plancha onto Chavo onto the outside of the ring. And then Mysterio starts to work on Chavo's knee, which I thought was a nice little touch. It's like, you broke my leg, I'm going to try to break yours. I like that. I enjoyed that. Mysterio hits this nice second rope diving hurricanrana on Chavo. And then he tries to go to the top rope again, but gets stuck in the tree of woe, where Chavo takes advantage. I will say, I'm not the biggest Chavo fan. Like, I've never really been interested in him. I know he's a good wrestler. He works great and whatever. But I really started enjoying this match when he started working the leg. He put on usually when you see people working a leg in a match, they pick the leg, they drop the elbow on it, they put him in the leg lock, and that's it, or they stomp on it a couple times. Or it's they get the chop block, they go right back to the leg lock. Chavo was putting on multiple different holds, different ways of attacking it. I thought it was really well done. Then we got probably one of the funniest lines from JBL tonight.
I'm saying tenfold man on the bottom is getting his leg handed to him.
I don't know, it made me laugh. Rey hits Enziguri. Chavo falls onto the rope looking for the 619. Rey gets up, but he can't run. His leg gives out on him. It was a pretty cool reversal here by Rey Mysterio, though. Chavo goes for a scoop slam. Rey kind of just counters out of it into a splash. It looked really cool. Interesting. Mysterio then gets Chavo in the Tree of Woe and starts working on his leg. A little revenge right there. A nice springboard moonsault into the DDT by Mysterio. Rey Mysterio goes for the crossbody, but Chavo's able to get out of the way. Chavo then hits the gory bomb, but only for 2. Rey Mysterio once again looking for another 619, but misses again. We get the 3 amigos from Chavo. He hits 1, he hits 2, goes for the 3rd. Gets put into the 619. Rey Mysterio hits a splash off the top. 1, 2, 3. Rey Mysterio wins in his return match over Chavo. And this was probably one of my favorite matches of the night, if not my favorite. We'll see by the end of the pay-per-view. Which is funny because of what I'm about to say here. I'm about to rate this a 3-star because I don't think any of these matches on the show were that great, to be honest with you. But this one of the better ones. If you're going to go out of your way and watch something, I'd probably pick this one or another one later in the show. But I think 3 stars is good enough. I really think if they started the match with straight up fighting, for a bit, instead of locking up and doing all this, it might have been bumped up to a 4, depending. That really took me out of it for a while. It took me a while to get into it, but kudos to them. They got me into the match about halfway through. So we move on to our next background segment as we have Todd Grisham talking with Booker T. Excuse me, not Booker T, King Booker. King Booker! As he's with Sharmell, and he's cutting a promo on Triple H because, like I said, he has a match against Triple H, the King of Kings versus, the King currently, and King Booker. I will say I do like Sharmell's, just her eyes in this. She's looking at her king the entire time, word for word, buying everything he says. She is a very underrated manager. I think she did a really good job with King Booker. Our next little segment, I don't really want to call it a match, but it's a match. It's a Divas Battle Royal for a future title shot against the Women's Champion. The Women's Champion. The Women's Champion. Candice Michelle, the women's champion of women. I don't get it. Oh, it's so bad. I forgot how bad women's wrestling was back in the 2007s. And the worst part about this is usually when you get SummerSlam, for the most part, me being the horny teenage boy, not around this time, but a bit earlier, 2003, we'd get the Fulfill Your Fantasy or the Bikini Battle Royal or some bullshit like that. So at least they're woo, titties. This one we're getting a wrestling match. It's not really a wrestling match. It's pretty awful. But we got Maria, we got Beth Phoenix, we got Melina, we got Jillian Hall, Mickey, who got the best reaction from the crowd. As she should. She's probably the best woman here. Tori Wilson, Victoria, who's also very good. Crystal Marshall, who I forgot existed. Michelle McCool, Kelly, Layla, and Brooke from Extreme Expose. They're representing ECW. So what you got? Beth, Mickey, Victoria, then maybe Michelle McCool, who could work at this time for the most part. The rest of them are mainly eye candy. So Beth dumps Brooke out of the ring first, which isn't too much of a surprise because Brooke is pretty green at this point. Still, she was always green for her entire career, let's be honest. Hell of an ass, though. Maria in the corner jumps up and catches Jillian Hall with her legs and puts her ass directly in her face, which gets the crowd to pop hugely. This is what I'm talking about at this point in time. This is what people wanted to see. They wanted to see tits and ass and, these kind of matches. And they didn't really care about the woman actually trying to wrestle in the ring. Unless it was a one-on-one match, you might get a Trish or a Lita or something like that. They might, actually pay attention and not yell like we want puppies or some shit. But for the most part, this is what they wanted. Jillian eliminates Maria right after that pretty easily. I think Victoria eliminates Layla. It's kind of hard to see because the camera doesn't really catch it. Crystal then kicks out Victoria. Yeah, Crystal fucking Marshall eliminated Victoria in this match for some reason. I don't know why. Then we have some like botchy ass stuff between Crystal and Mickie James where they're kind of like holding each other on the ropes, and like you have Michelle McCool behind them like ready to punch. She looks like she's going to punch Mickie, but it's so obvious that she's going to miss and hit Crystal. But it's like, what's the point? Just help eliminate her. It's not like you're a tag team or anything, so I don't really get that spot. Beth then takes out Kelly with ease. Mickie James trying to eliminate Jillian, but for some reason she almost eliminates herself. Tori Wilson then saves Mickie from being eliminated by Jillian by eliminating Jillian. As Mickey's trying to get back in the ring, she gets kicked out of the ring by Melina to a chorus of huge boos.
There goes Mickie James. Melina with a running up.
Which didn't really surprise me. People were really behind Mickie James throughout her entire run, but WWE just, they were assholes to her, let's be honest. Tori and Michelle kind of work together to eliminate Melina. It's pretty botchy. Michelle has she helps Tori out, and then she's like, get up, come help me clothesline Melina out of the ring. And like Tori just kind of just goes like, I don't wanna. Like she kind of like falls down to a knee and decides not to. Michelle goes for the clothesline. Melina kind of bumps up but can't get her out. And then Tori finally comes and they both eliminate her. It was really bad and ugly. Beth then dumps Tori, then pretty much picks up Michelle right after that and puts her out of the ring. And Beth Phoenix, the winner of this match, about to go on to beat up Candice Michelle and become the women's champion, I'm pretty sure. Honestly, didn't even put a rating down for this match because I didn't really care. I'm not gonna give it 0 because it's not the worst thing I ever seen. 0 is gonna be safe for special occasions, but a 1 is fine. You don't need to watch this; it's pointless. Up next, we get our MVP Matt Hardy segments where they're gonna have a little challenge against each other. MVP comes out and there is no reaction. It's pretty sad. MVP, to cut in his typical heel promo saying he's better than everyone. I don't usually drink beer, but I usually drink, Cristal and expensive shit. But I'm going to come down to the common man and beat Matt Hardy in a beer drinking competition. So he challenges Matt Hardy to beer drinking. Matt Hardy comes out. Crowd is chanting clearly for Austin. They know what's coming. They know Steve Austin's back there and he's going to take Matt Hardy's spot in this match. Previously in their other challenges, Matt Hardy had to fight Evander freaking Holyfield in a boxing match because MVP decided that he could get a sub. So tonight's Matt Hardy sub is Stone Cold Steve Austin. The crowd erupts. And this is the loudest they've been all night, and it's for Stone Cold, the guy who hasn't wrestled in forever. If anyone ever says if Hogan's better or The Rock's better, he's the biggest star. Stone Cold is the biggest star in wrestling history. It's not even close. Then we get another one of JBL's crazy calls, which made me laugh.
But there's a very difference between Evander Holyfield and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Evander Holyfield is just Evander Holyfield. That is freaking Stone Cold.
It's just absolutely ridiculous and hilarious at the same time. Austin does some stuff. He pretends to warm up, like beer drinking's a big thing. Gets a beer for MVP, and then Stone Cold Stunner, obviously. And that's it. That's the segment. It was, a good segment and funny at times. Not the funniest segment tonight. That'll be coming later. It got the crowd alive, so I guess it did its job there. Speaking of the funniest segment ever, we go back to the sausage party backstage. Primetime shows up saying that maybe they are Vince McMahon's son. Or one of them can be Vince McMahon's son, I should say. They start doing their little money. Yeah. Then all the black guys go together. Teddy Long, John McCoachman, Crime Time, and they all start going around going, money. Yeah. And I was like, this is a little strange. Because you got William Regal and Vince McMahon kind of just standing there being like, looking. JTG takes off his Yankees cap, puts it on top of Regal's head, which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in wrestling. It looks so ridiculous. It was one of the funniest things in wrestling I've ever seen until William Regal starts dancing along with them and making an absolute ass of himself. And I really enjoyed this backstage segment. Of course, the camera pans to Regal as he's dancing in the corner. We pan back and there's Ron Simmons and damn indeed, Ron Simmons. Damn indeed. Next up, we have a ECW championship match between CM Punk, who is the face in this match, and John Morrison, who is the ECW champion and the heel, obviously. I completely forgot. Well, I don't want to say I completely forgot, but I forgot slightly that John Morrison had like the Jim Morrison gimmick, that he was really like playing to it, because it's been so long since I've seen it. And in the vignette that they played before, I was actually really enjoying like the way he was portraying the character, and I miss it because I feel like right after ECW they kind of just dropped it. They kept the name, they kept the music, they kept like the look, the entrance, whatever, but they just dropped like the weird poetic shit he used to say, right? And they just kind of made him like typical, here's a good looking guy with a bunch of abs who doesn't really say much, doesn't have charisma or anything. So I think it was a bit of a letdown in his character on that. So Morrison has had Punk's number over the couple weeks, picking up victories, attacking him from behind or whatever. So this match starts off and we get a bit of mat wrestling back and forth between the two. Not for long, but just a bit. Punk hits a nice springboard dropkick a la Chris Jericho, taking Morrison down. And Morrison hits a move I haven't seen before from him or for many people. I don't think I've ever seen this move pulled off too much. He gets him on the apron. He's holding him on the outside of the apron with a neck breaker while he's hanging, and hits him with a neck breaker onto the apron, which I thought was a really nice move, and I think he should put that back into his arsenal. Morrison then hits a nice stiff kick, which I want you guys to hear.
Oh, man!
Pretty good one. Got him right in the chest with that. Punk versus the catapult into the turnbuckle, lands on the second rope and hits a nice crossbody. Punk goes through the hammerlock clothesline, which I wish he did more. It's one of my favorite moves that he used to do. But that gets reversed into a backbreaker into a neckbreaker combo, which maybe he learned from The Miz, who knows, which I thought was a nice little spot. Morrison then goes for his neckbreaker, which I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. If I was a researcher, I'd do some research, but I'm lazy. He misses that, eats the hammerlock clothesline this time. Then CM Punk goes to the top rope and hits a moonsault. Very sloppy moonsault. Looked very Vader-esque, except when Vader does it, it looks like it hurts because he weighs like 400 pounds. Then we got a second rope Frankensteiner, which gets blocked. Punk eats shit. Morrison goes to the cover, tries to put his feet on the rope, but can't really make it. So kind of just gets like a bit of his toe. It slides off a couple times and picks up the victory, which took me out of the match big time. I liked the match, honestly. It was one of the quicker matches. It was a very quick pace between the two, which I expected. Didn't get as much time as the other main title matches, which is obvious it's ECW. But the ending was just so abrupt. It just came out of nowhere. I was like, a Frankensteiner, I was like, he's gonna put his feet on the rope, he'll kick out and like we'll get like a couple more spots and then whoever wins. But it just ended like that. Maybe if he got all his feet on it, it would have been different. I would have felt better about it. But the fact that he just really couldn't get his feet on to get that pin kind of took me out of it. But all in all, I thought it was a good match, and it was really elevated by the commentary team of Taz and Joey Styles. Joey Styles is phenomenal at his job. He's probably one of my favorite commentators. He just calls the match perfectly, a lot of excitement in his voice, and it was like the first match where it was like constant, both of them were calling the match. They were talking about the match and not something else, and I think it elevated the match a bit more for me, and I'm going to give it 3 stars. Not based on the commentary. I probably would have gave it 3 stars based on the match itself, but the commentary really helped. We move on to another return match as Triple H is facing King Booker. King Booker, obviously the heel in this one, Triple H, obviously the face, and I am not a fan of face Triple H, and I'm not a big fan of Triple H to begin with at all, honestly, but here we go. So leading up to this match, like the past 2 weeks, you had King Booker beating up on Jerry the King Lawler, which makes sense, and trying to make him crown him, but he wouldn't do it, so he beat him up. And then the week after that, while King was gone, they forced JR to kiss his ring, be loyal subjects and whatnot. I really feel like they could have played to this a lot more, like if they wanted the time. I don't know if they just started this feud like really quick just to throw the sheeps to the wolves for Triple H and being like, easy win, you're king of kings, he's the king, we'll throw this together in 3 weeks and have you beat King Booker, which wouldn't be the first time where he's beaten King Booker for a stupid reason, like at WrestleMania where it was super racist, and then they proved that they were super racist by having Triple H go over. Awful storyline. Maybe we'll get to that one day. Not really saying that Triple H shouldn't have won this match. He should. It's a returning huge superstar. He should win the match, but they could have given him anybody, and they gave him King Booker, which doesn't make sense to me. I feel like they could have built this feud up a lot better, having King Booker like literally make Jerry Lawler his like jester or something like that, and then having the King of Kings versus the King match later down the line at like another pay-per-view. It doesn't have to be a big 4 pay-per-view. It could be any pay-per-view where you just have that match and have Jerry Lawler stop Sharmell from interfering or something. The crowd erupts, Triple H wins, blah blah blah. It would have been better in my eyes anyways if they did something like that. Honestly, for a Triple H return, his entrance isn't as over the top as I expected, even though it did last like 10 minutes long. It was crazy long, a bit of like I think Latin font or something on the Jumbotron, but like nothing as extravagant as is like WrestleMania stuff. So we get Slugfest to open the match. Triple H dumps Booker T to the outside of the ring with the clothesline. Then we get back in the ring. We get more punches back and forth. And then we get another clothesline spot to the outside. It was very odd because it Booker T kind of just stood there and like he was like waiting for the spot to happen, and Triple H it didn't look like he wanted to do that spot, and then he came over and clotheslined him again. It was literally like maybe 2 minutes after that's the first time they did it. So Triple H all over Booker T. Sharmell able to grab the leg of Triple H as he's running the ropes though and get his attention. Booker is then able to work the quad of Triple H for a few seconds until Triple H is able to hit a chop block and put a figure 4 on Booker T, which the crowd got a nice little pop out of. Shout out to Ric Flair. Woo! Sharmell, though, able to come around and rake the eyes of Booker T while the ref is busy. So once again, Booker able to get back into it, but he's really never able to get into this match. It's a very oddly booked match, in my opinion. Well, not really. It's Triple H, but Booker T, like every time he gets like a little bit of advantage, it's like Triple H just comes right back. It's like, oh, I broke his leg down. Triple H is like, oh no, I don't care. Right back at you. I'm hitting you with something else. Like for example, he's trying to get him right here, and then Booker T gets hit by a Triple H spinebuster out of nowhere. Just bam, puts him on the mat. Triple H goes to the pedigree, that gets reversed. Booker T goes to the scissor kick, that misses. Then he's able to hit the bookend, but only for a 2. Booker then goes to the top rope and goes to the Houston Hangover, which popped me pretty good. I wasn't expecting that in this match. He eats shit though and lands on his ass. We get a DX chop, the pedigree, which gets reversed, but the kick gets reversed right after that, back into the pedigree, 1, 2, 3, and that's the match. Pretty boring. 2 stars. not a fan of this match. I thought it could have been a hell of a lot better. I like Booker T. I don't mind Triple H matches. I just don't like it depends on who he's fighting and if he's heel or face. When he's face, his matches tend to bore me. When he's heel, he works so much better as a heel. So, and in this case, he's a face. So, pretty boring match. I wouldn't recommend. Speaking of boring matches, perfect segue here. We got Batista versus the Great Khali. So thanks, Callum, for recommending this and making me watch a Great Khali match, because you've seen one of them, you've seen them all. Great Khali, of course, with Singh as well as his manager. And he is the heavyweight champion. He's been on his heavyweight run as of late. Which was the worst time in wrestling history. The vignette before is just Khali dominant, beating everybody with the vice grip across the head. And Batista coming out and challenging him for the championship, and him saying no, and then eventually this match being made into a match. So this match is essentially Khali working a shoulder hold on Batista for the majority of it, which leaves JBL to say this.
Khali is not a mindless brute. He knows exactly what he is doing.
Khali knows what he's doing. If Khali knew what he was doing, he just put the vice grip on and win the match like that. Why doesn't he do that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I can understand if you're slugging it out, but you got the guy in a shoulder claw and you're like working on him the entire match, like for like 10 minutes straight. Just move your hands up here and crush his head and win the match. This match makes no sense. It boggled my mind. Cole ends up saying that the fans are getting restless and they're disappointed because Batista's getting beat up. Nice try. It's more so they're essentially saying Khali's terrible at what he does, and the fans don't care. But at the same time, Batista hits the spine buster and they all erupt. So it's kind of like, the old school big heel beating down the face. Like that, it will always work, but it's just boring as shit is what the problem is. Batista gets caught up top. Khali hits him for the Khali bomb, only for a 2, which the crowd erupted to. Once again, they were on their feet for it. They're like, yeah, they're thermally behind Batista at this point. They don't want Khali to be champion anymore. So Khali has Batista down and out after the Khali bomb, and then Singh gives him a chair and he hits him with it, and DQ, the match is over. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no point. Usually in a match like that, especially that's like a big guy, when he starts getting dominated, if Batista came back after the choke bomb, hit like a spear, whatever, and then Khali was able to chop him and slow him down, and then realize like his title might be at stake here. Then he hit him with a chair. Sure, that's fine. Whatever. It's chicken shit, heel shit, whatever. It's fine. But the fact that he has the match clear in his advantage right now, and just hits him with a chair for no reason, it doesn't make any sense. Anyways, Batista spears Khali after the match and then beats him with the chair for a bit, and that's the match. And it was awful, and 1 star. I won't give it a 0 because it's not terrible. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely nothing you need to watch. So we go into Sausage Party number 3 as we have Regal bringing in 2 ladies for Vince McMahon, who Vince thinks maybe will be his bastard son's mom. Instead, it's Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young. So you know where this is going. Mae essentially says that she wants to bang Vince to give him another bastard son, which I wasn't expecting to hear. She goes on to molest Vince onto the couch, and they start making out, and John Coachman's trying to get them off of him. And then Vince says something that I never needed to hear in my life.
Kind of liked it. Old chicken makes good soup.
Old chicken makes good soup. Never heard that saying before, and I need to wash my ears out now, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. My ears are nice and clean. Let's move on to the main event where we have Randy Orton, heel Randy Orton, which is best Randy Orton, facing current WWE champion face John Cena in 2007, which, you know, it's going to be a chorus of boos and cheers. So I want to say this might be one of the first times these two squared off in this era where it seems like they fought each other like 16 times a year for the WWE Championship. I think this might have been one of the first times. If I went back and actually looked things up, I'd probably know, but if you feel free to tell me in the comment section down below if this is one of the first times that they fought each other, if they already had like 16 matches before this for the WWE Championship, like when they're both like mega stars. This is around the time Randy Orton was kind of bringing back the Legend Killer gimmick, I want to say, because he kind of had it for a bit and then he stopped doing it and then he brought it back. And he was just killing people, essentially, punting people on the head, you know, and he wanted to take care of John Cena because he was the biggest legend right now, which is funny because they're both around the same age. Yeah, so split fan reaction for John Cena. You got the cheers and the boos. A bit more cheers than boos, I'd say, at the beginning, like in the entrance. It was like 70-30 or something. But as the match progresses, it gets you can start hearing the boos a bit more. And this is the first time besides Austin where the crowd seems to be alive. It seems like this is the match everyone came to see, which makes sense. It's the main event. That's how it should be.
Bell sounds. We are underway with our main event.
But they were definitely alive for this one. They were amped up to see Cena versus Orton. You know, the male audience was definitely behind Orton this one. The female and the children were definitely behind Cena. So start this match off, we get typical headlock versus headlock. It's just headlock versus headlock for the next like 10 minutes. It's a Randy Orton match. You know, they start slow, they build up, but it was Headlock City. That shirt should have been made for Randy Orton for this time period. Cena tries to go for his running shoulder block, but Randy Orton just drops down and lets him fly over, which is one of my favorite spots of reversing that shoulder block because it's hilarious. Cena then takes an apron bump all the way to the table to the outside, which looked really nice. Orton goes back to the reverse chin lock, and we sit in that for a good few minutes again, because once again, it's a Randy Orton specialty. Cena's able to power out with a back suplex, though, but it immediately eats a turnbuckle, and then Randy Orton starts doing his Randy stomps, picking apart the ankle joints and the fingers and the top of his head and whatever else he could kick. He sets up Cena for a knee drop right across the face, but Cena able to get out of the way, trying to build up a head of steam of Cena after that, but ends up eating a power slam and then right back into the chin lock by Randy Orton. Cena once again powering out of Randy Orton's chin lock, able to get him into the corner and bash him into there. Then the 5 moves of doom, the 2 shoulder blocks, the spin out powerbomb, the 5 knuckle shuffle. The crowd is electric at this point with boos and cheers as he's able to hit it. Picks Orton up for the FU, but eats 2 elbows to the face, and then Orton hits his backbreaker on Cena. Then immediately follows that up with a hangman DDT, holding him for the count of 4, which I never understood, because is he like choking him at that point? Or is he just holding him there? It seems like a dumb idea, but hits the hangman DDT. Cena able to reverse the RKO, but ends up going over the top rope and then gets thrown into the steel steps. Randy Orton struggles to get Cena back into the ring, but only picks up a 2 count from that. Cena then hits the throwback, which isn't really the throwback. It's more of a blockbuster, neck breaker type thing on Randy Orton. Cena then looking like he's going to do his diving Fame-Azzer or a leg drop, whatever you want to call it, across the back of Randy Orton's head, but Orton able to get to the turnbuckle, and it looks like Orton's going to set up for a superplex, but he gets pushed off, and then Cena's able to hit the leg drop across Orton. Cena then picks Orton up for another FU, but is able to fight out of it, gets over to the apron and able to hit Cena with the stun gun. Cena's now down at this point. Orton setting up for the punt. Cena able to get out of the way, locks on the STFU, but Randy just able to get to the ropes before tapping out. And we get an RKO out of nowhere right after that, only for a 2 though. Right after that, FU out of nowhere for 3, which once again caught me off guard. This was a show with a lot of like off guard stuff. I guess this is before everyone was kicking out of finishers though. Maybe my brain is used to that, you know, like attitude adjustment or FU at this time. 1-2 kick out, you know, RKO 1-2 kick out, then like 3 more attitude adjustments puts him away. So for him to win clean like that, it shocked me. I don't think it was right though, because it doesn't make any sense. It just makes the RKO look weak, in my opinion. This is like typical Cena shit that drove me nuts at this time frame though, where he would just, you know, no sell, like literally RKO 1-2 kick out, and then he went to go pick him up, and then it was just right up, boom, right down. That's it, 1, 2, 3, which caught me off guard. This is also going to be a 3-star match, the main event. I was debating between 4 and 3, but I think 3 is more accurate. I want to keep 4 for like really, really good matches, and then like 5 for like the ones that blow me away, which maybe we'll get to eventually if we ever get to a pay-per-view, which I know has one of those matches on it. I have a few in my head, but I'm not gonna ruin it for you guys. So, all in all, match of the night: Orton Cena. If it wasn't obvious after that one, Rey Mysterio is probably the next best match in this one. Then CM Punk after that. So that was SummerSlam 2007, and that is my first review for this Heroes Wrestling page. I hope you guys enjoyed it. For this pay-per-view, I'd give it the grade of skip it. You don't really need to watch it. There's nothing on this show that's really too amazing, honestly. If you want to see that weird scene of Vince getting molested or William Regal dancing with the hat on, I'm sure you can find those on YouTube. It's probably better to do that. Yeah, so tell me what you guys thought about the review, what I can change that might make things better. Possibly a pay-per-view you want to see me do in the future. Feel free to write that down below. Make sure to leave a like and tell your friends that Heroes Wrestling's back, and I will catch you whenever the next video comes out. Till then, La Parka wins. Too sweet of me.